Hello, boys and girls. I hope you're enjoying your winter day at home. I have something super exciting today. Okay, so our story for this week is one of my favorites. It is called The Legend of the Lake Monster. Okay, now I know when you first glance at this, you may think, ooh, this is going to be an exciting fiction story. Well, it is exciting, but it is actually non-fiction, which we all know means it is true. Okay, so we know what a legend is. A legend is a story that's kind of been passed down that may or may not be true. It's usually really kind of exciting, like the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, things like that. So in Scotland, which is a country in Europe, so it's across the Atlantic Ocean from us, there is a legend about a monster who lives in the loch. Okay, loch is the same thing as a lake. Okay, in Scotland they call it a loch, Loch. Okay, so here is the story. It says the legend of the lake monster. Is there a giant beast living in Scotland's largest lake? So let me give you a little bit of background real quick. All right, this monster supposedly looks kind of like a dinosaur a little bit, kind of like a cross between a dinosaur and a giant eel. And throughout the years, there have been many people say that they have seen it in this particular lake in Scotland, and people even have produced pictures of it. But as we're going to learn, you'll have to make your own decision whenever we finish reading it about whether you think this monster is real or not. But they show you some of the pictures and talk about that, and talk about, some of the ways it could be real and some of the ways maybe it's not. So like I said, you'll have to make your own decision. Okay. But before we get started, let's do a couple of things. Here's a map of Scotland. Here's the United States. So we're over here across the Atlantic Ocean, and Scotland's right here in Europe. Okay. So let's look at some text features really quick. Hang on. There we go. Presentation view, and you can access all of this too if you want to access it on your own. Remember that you log in as a student and the password is Monteith, Monteith, and you can get into all of this as well. All right, so here we go. The Legend of the Lake Monster. So it's got a pretty cool picture there. All right, we've got the map, and we've got an introduction. Is there a giant beast living in Scotland's largest lake? So let's look at the next page. Okay, so we've got a picture here, and we've got a caption. It says, fact or fiction, people tell stories of a giant hairy monster hiding in the woods. It's called Bigfoot. I think we've all heard of him. Some of you may have seen him in the woods. I don't know. There is no proof that Bigfoot exists, but a 2014 survey found that 20% of Americans believe Bigfoot's real. And then over here we have a picture, and it says, picture proof. Tim Dinsdale on the left led 56 expeditions to the Loch Ness, to the lake. In 1960, he saw a long oval shape in the water. He captured it on film, but not everyone was convinced by the blurry image next to him. So that's a picture he's holding up of what he saw. And then here we got something about the Komodo dragon. We'll have to see what that's all about. Let's see. And then here's a picture. It says exploring the loch, which remembers the lake. Scientists use a robot that goes underwater to look for signs of the creature. And I think they use sonar. And if you remember, I think that's the same thing they used to discover the Titanic, which is really cool. And then right here it says photo fake out. It says this photo is a hoax from 1934. So apparently someone developed this picture somehow and claimed that it was the Loch Ness Monster, but they determined that they had faked it somehow. And, some people have faked pictures of Bigfoot too. All right, so there's our text features. We got pictures, captions. We've got a map on the front page. We've got a title and an introduction. All right, so let's go back. And let's go over here to resources. And let's look at our vocabulary words. All right, we've got murky. Murky means not clear or dark. So I'm guessing it's going to say that the water in the lake was murky. Okay. Not clear or dark, kind of like in this picture. And then we've got rippled. Okay. If you've ever thrown a rock in the water, then you've seen it ripple, moved in small waves. Okay. And we've got legend. We talked about that. A story told today that was first told many years before. All right. And it gives you an example. There's a legend that an underwater city called Atlantis existed long ago. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. Hasn't been proven one way or the other. All right. Fantastic. If something's fantastic, it's very strange and unbelievable and wonderful. Okay. So children's stories often take place in fantastic places. Okay, that reminds me of Avatar, if you've ever watched that movie. It's kind of just fantastic, the world that they live in. Of course, it's not real, but. All right, next is lurking. Have you ever lurked outside your brother and sister's bedroom to spy on them? I bet you have. All right, lurking is being in a hidden place. Okay, so this owl's lurking behind the tree. Okay, you usually lurk when you're trying to be sneaky. Trace. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with this thing. It says a small marker object that shows something that has been somewhere. So, for example, if you go out in the snow, like in this picture, you're going to leave a trace of yourself. You're going to leave footprints. It's impossible not to. Hansel and Gretel, whenever they were walking through the woods, they left the breadcrumbs as a trace. Okay. And that thing's really crazy. All right, here we go. Sonar, a device that uses sound waves to find objects underwater. Again, I think this is what they used when they were searching for the Titanic. You guys probably remember better than I do, but I think that's what they talked about, is they use sonar to detect the remnants of the Titanic underwater. So that's what that guy used to try to find the Loch Ness Monster. Hoaxes. Okay, if something's a hoax, it is a trick. It's a way to trick someone to believe something that's not true. So in the picture, like they're taking gravel, out of the driveway and painting it with gold paint. So they're trying to trick someone to believe it's gold. Just like that picture we saw was a hoax whenever we were looking at the article. They made it look like it was the Loch Ness Monster, but really they had staged it somehow. And so, unfortunately, people do hoaxes a lot, and you have to be careful what you believe and what you don't believe. Okay, so there's our vocab words. So now we are going to watch the video read aloud of The Legend of the Lake Monster. I hope you're prepared to be amazed. Sorry. Here we go.
Storyworks 3 readers, it's me, Lauren, here for another video read aloud. I am so excited to be here with you. And before we jump in, I have a question for you. Do you believe in monsters? Because that's what this video read aloud is about. It's my nonfiction story for this issue called The Legend of the Lake Monster. And it's about a monster that might or might not live in a big lake in the country of Scotland. So I want you to think about whether you might believe this. I want you to think about that as you read. And I'm going to jump right in. On a cool afternoon in 1933, Aldi and John Mackay were driving along the shores of Scotland's largest lake. The Loch Ness was unusually murky. By the way, loch is the Scottish word for lake. On this day, its waters sparkled in the sunshine. Then Aldi saw something she would never forget. The water rippled. A giant creature seemed to rise out of the loch. It appeared to be black, with a humped back. Aldi grabbed her husband's arm. She screamed, "Stop! The beast!" John stopped the car. The creature seemed to roll and plunge in the water. For several minutes, the couple stared at the lake. Finally, the creature disappeared. News spread about what the McKays had seen. Some people rolled their eyes and laughed, but many others were fascinated. There had always been something mysterious about the Loch Ness, something spooky. The story was believed by many people who lived near the lake. In fact, it was a local legend. For hundreds of years, people had whispered about a creature living in the loch. The stories told of a huge, scary beast. Many stayed away from the woods around the lake because of these stories. Over the next few weeks, rumors spread about a long-necked creature. "It was horrible," reported a schoolteacher. "It had a head like a cobra." "It was as big as an elephant," said a local farmer. "My heart stopped," described a visitor. "It looked right at me." Was there really a monster living in the lake? People have been telling tales about mysterious animals for thousands of years. Stories have swirled of mermaids, dragons, and a giant beast called Bigfoot. Some men and women spend their lives searching for these fantastic creatures. These people call themselves cryptozoologists. Cryptozoology seems more like a joke than real science to many people. But some cryptozoologists are respected scientists. After all, hundreds of new animal species are discovered each year. Couldn't one of these animals be lurking in the Loch Ness? Cryptozoologists have come up with several ideas about what the beast of the Loch Ness could be. Some say it's an unknown water mammal. Others believe it's an enormous fish. Some even say it's an ancient creature called a plesiosaur. These large, long-necked reptiles lived alongside the dinosaurs. But plesiosaurs died out 65 million years ago. Or did they? Perhaps a few survived. Maybe one of their relatives is living in the Loch Ness. Most scientists don't think these ideas make sense. They say that the loch's water is too cold and dark for most plants to grow. Fish have an even harder time surviving in it. What would the creature eat? And one beast couldn't live for hundreds of years on its own. Is it really likely that a family of enormous animals is living in the loch? And that almost no one has seen any trace of them? Tim Dinsdale was very interested in learning the answers to these questions. He was a scientist who explored the Loch Ness 56 times between 1960 and 1987. In 1960, Dinsdale and his team saw a long oval shape in the water. They filmed the shape for 4 minutes. The image was blurry, but Dinsdale was certain it showed the creature. He gave the film to experts to study. They said the object was probably alive and that it was 12 to 16 feet long. Cryptozoologists cheered, but others were not impressed with the dark, blurry blob in the water. American scientist Robert Rines is another respected Loch Ness researcher. He used equipment called sonar to get an image. The image seemed to show the head and body of a large underwater creature. But the image was too blurry to provide clear proof. In 2003, British scientists studied the loch from shoreline to shoreline, top to bottom. the team found no sign of a giant creature. Last year, scientists explored the lake again. Instead of a monster, the scientists found long, skinny fish called eels. The scientists wondered, could the Loch Ness Monster just be a giant eel? It's been over 80 years since the McKays took their drive to the lake. More than 1,000 people say they've seen some kind of creature in the loch since then. Some of those sightings have turned out to be hoaxes. But could all of these sightings be fake? Real or fake, the legend brings thousands of visitors to the lake each year. They're all hoping to see the famous Loch Ness Monster. The people who live near the lake don't mind the visitors, though. The monster is a big moneymaker. Visitors often pay to take tours of the lake. They also buy toys, books, and t-shirts based on the legend. The monster even has a nickname, Nessie. Maybe one day someone will be able to prove Nessie exists once and for all. Until then, the mystery of the Loch Ness Monster will remain just that, a mystery. So what do you think? Do you believe in the Loch Ness Monster? I think I do. I really want to believe, actually, that there's this fabulous monster living in this lake and that it's happy with its whole family, fascinating people who come visit, hoping to catch a glimpse. So I hope that you're going to want to learn more about the Loch Ness Monster and cryptozoology. I hope you're going to do all the amazing activities our team has prepared for you, and you're going to build your skills and do the writing activity at the end. And I hope that you're going to be with me next time at our video read alouds. Bye-bye. That there's this fabulous monster living in this lake and that it's happy with its whole family.
So there you go. There is the legend of the Loch Ness Monster. Now, you have a decision to make. Okay, so you've listened to all the evidence. You've heard that over 1,000 people have claimed to see some kind of creature. I mean, are there really going to be 1,000 people that are going to lie and say they've seen something that's really not there? I don't think so. I think a few people would do that, but I don't know if 1,000 people would. But then they also proved that one picture wasn't real. And then they also had that team of scientists that searched the lake top to bottom, side to side, didn't find anything. So I don't know what the truth is. I guess that's why it's a legend. So you feel free to do your own research if your mom and dad are okay with that. If you want to look it up on YouTube or look it up on Google and see if you can find some more information that might prove or disprove whether the Loch Ness Monster is really real or not. And also, guys, be thinking about, this being a nonfiction article, be thinking about what the main idea is. What was this article mostly about? Okay, sometimes that's hard to figure out because it talked about so much. It talked at the beginning about that couple who saw the Loch Ness Monster, and then it talked about all the people who searched for the Loch Ness Monster. It talked about hoaxes. So it really covered a lot of information, but what was it mostly about? Okay, so be thinking about that because we're going to talk about that, okay? But like I said, you get to decide whether you think Nessie is real or if she's just a legend. Don't forget to go do your vocabulary activities for today. I will see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your day. Bye.